This is the most expensive crash test in history. The Swedish automaker crashed a hypercar worth about $2 million to obtain reliable data. Crash tests typically require about a dozen cars. For a niche manufacturer that produces only about 20 hypercars a year, this would be ruinous. So, company founder Christian von Koenigsegg decided to find a workaround. A single car was sent for crash testing. They crashed the exterior body panels and the engine. Then they repair the car and test it again. In this process, the hypercar's most expensive structural element, the carbon fiber monocoque, remains intact. This type of crash test does not meet the criteria of international car safety assessment programs, which is why Koenigsegg has not received a single star from these organizations. Meanwhile, today's crash test results directly impact an automaker's success on the market. Major corporations fight for stars in global rankings and invest hundreds of millions of dollars in testing new cars. Volvo conducted one of the most extreme tests, dropping 10 cars from a height of 30 meters. This is how we simulated the consequences of the most horrific accidents, such as a head-on collision at a speed of about 100 kilometers an hour. One of the first crash tests in history was conducted by a railroad agent from Texas with the telling name of William Crush. In 1896, he decided to stage a head-on collision between two steam locomotives. Crush wasn't concerned with testing locomotive safety. He planned to put on a spectacular show and make money from it. This spectacle was preceded by an advertising campaign that was colossal for its time. One of the locomotives destined for destruction was paraded through almost the entire state, covered in promotional posters. Tickets cost $2, which was a very large sum of money in the late 19th century. The high prices did not deter the public. Around 40,000 spectators came from all over America to gaze upon the unprecedented show. None of them suspected just how dangerous an enterprise William Crush had organized. At the moment of impact, the boilers on both locomotives exploded. Pieces of metal flew in all directions like shrapnel. 2 people were killed and dozens were seriously injured. The tragedy taught neither the public nor the entrepreneurs a lesson. Locomotive crash shows under the name Monster Crash continued to be staged in various states for many years, and in the USA, the name William Crush became infamous. The term crash test sounds very similar to this William Crush's surname, although they are spelled differently. The first automotive crash tests began in the 1930s. Cars were tested for durability right on the streets. They were pushed off cliffs and smashed into poles and walls. Test drivers sat behind the wheel. These daredevils were paid large sums of money for their risk. Consequently, people would fly headfirst into the windshield, the steering column, the seat. It was like balls flying around inside a lottery machine. So people started thinking about how to simulate this whole process. Researchers from Wayne State University in Detroit proposed using cadavers as dummies. But this idea proved unsuccessful for a number of reasons. First, tests with cadavers produced unreliable data, as the tissues of a living person differ from those of a deceased one. Second, only the undamaged bodies of people who died of natural causes were suitable for testing, and there was a shortage of such bodies. Because not all relatives were willing to say, "Yes, let our late uncle serve us, serve the cause of automotive science." In the 1940s, U.S. Air Force Colonel, surgeon, and biophysicist John Paul Stapp suggested using pigs in crash tests, as their physiology is similar to that of humans. The project, codenamed Barbecue, made a significant contribution to the development of passive automotive safety systems. Well, naturally, there was also a shortage of pigs, so great apes and sometimes bears were thrown into the mix. But by that time, animal rights activists started to speak up, and this whole practice began to wind down. And after that, as they say, engineering science took over. The first crash test dummy was designed by American physicist Samuel Alderson. The doll was even given a name, Sierra Sam. But Sam's contribution to automotive testing proved to be insignificant. The dummy had stiff joints and its weight was not distributed correctly on the seat. Ultimately, John Stapp decided to act as a human crash test dummy himself. The Colonel took on a series of risky experiments. He determined how extreme acceleration, deceleration, and incredible G-forces affect the human body. However, he conducted these tests not in cars, but on a rocket sled. In 1954, at a test site in New Mexico, Stapp accelerated to 1,017 kilometers per hour. Today, Colonel John Paul Stapp will become the first person to accelerate to a mind-boggling speed. If he survives, he will become the fastest man on Earth. Colonel Stapp survived but was nearly crippled. The extreme G-forces caused all the capillaries in his eyes to burst and knocked out his dental fillings. Stapp also suffered broken ribs. Before this experiment, it was believed that prolonged exposure to 18G would be fatal, but Stapp experienced 42G. In other words, his body was subjected to a force 42 times greater than the force of Earth's gravity. I believe it was madness, not to mention the ethical issues of human testing. In 1968, Samuel Alderson developed a new crash test dummy. This anthropomorphic device provided a much more accurate picture of what happens inside a car's cabin during a crash. Tests with Alderson's dummy helped engineers develop the three-point seatbelt, which is still in use today. This system absorbs kinetic energy, and at the moment of impact, a special mechanism locks the belt firmly in place. That's why it's crucial to wear it correctly. A belt worn too low can dislocate the pelvic bone. As safety systems evolved, so did the dummies. Modern devices are anatomically correct replicas of humans, equipped with numerous sensors. Engineers at the University of Michigan developed a dummy that replicates an obese person. For the United States, where millions of citizens are overweight, this is a very relevant invention. Statistics show that obese people often suffer serious leg injuries in a crash. Therefore, testing with these dummies helps us better understand how to improve safety for overweight drivers. Thousands of crash tests have allowed engineers to significantly improve car safety. The first cars were made of thick steel. It was believed that the stronger the car's body, the better the chances of surviving a crash. Tests with dummies shattered this myth. It was discovered that during an impact, a massive rigid body transfers kinetic energy directly into the cabin. So what did they start to come up with? Crumple zones. That is, zones that absorb the main energy of the impact. Some companies came up with the idea of installing a special shield, so the engine wouldn't fly into the cabin, but rather under the car. See, there were special breakaway mounts. Thunk, it goes down. And the driver would survive instead of having that whole heavy thing, as they say, slam into the middle of their chest. In modern crash tests, cars are not only crashed, but also submerged in water. These tests help determine how quickly drivers and passengers can escape from a sinking car. Another popular test is the moose test. A test driver must swerve to avoid a suddenly appearing obstacle. This is how a car's handling is tested. The test was nicknamed the moose test because of the numerous traffic accidents involving moose. In some European countries, thousands of such accidents are recorded annually, many of which are fatal for both the animals and the people.